What is up? Welcome to this week's episode of Lambgoat's Vanflip podcast. I am your host, LURK. Today I'm joined by Brandon, formerly of, I guess I can say formerly of Enterprise Earth and Dead Icarus, but you've also, moonlighted in Whitechapel for like 2.5 years or something like that. So
Yep.
you started joining Whitechapel as a touring musician, and then, you made the cut. So they've promoted you 5-6 months ago to full-time drummer now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, officially, I think it was in August announced it. So, what was that? Yeah, about 6 or 7 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I had been playing with the band since, I think it was early 2022. I did the Cannibal Corpse tour, was the first one I did. And it was Whitechapel's first tour back from COVID. So, yeah, I think it was early 2022 I started playing with them. And then, yeah, I've been official since August, so I'm enjoying it so far.
Get to sleep with the band now, like in the bus and in the hotel room.
Yeah, before I was sleeping in the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did that even come about? I mean, because obviously you weren't in the band prior to 2022. You had your own projects and own focuses going on. So I know you were doing some Enterprise Earth stuff. You kind of were working with Alex from formerly of Atreyu on his.
Yeah, actually, I'm still doing some Dead Icarus stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that was one of my questions. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how did you how did it even come up that you were going to be? I mean, I'm sure you've answered this question more than once, so I'm sure you have an answer down pat for it. But how did it come to be that you were in the running for drumming for Whitechapel?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a funny story because when I was in high school, I played in a band with Mark Heilman from Suicide Silence.
Okay.
And Jordan Lockery, who is formerly of Carnifex. So when Enterprise Earth was actually looking for a drummer, they hit up Jason Sukoff, and Jordan happened to be recording a Carnifex album at the same time, and Jordan kind of heard them talking about it. I was like, oh, I got a guy, and kind of put me in touch with the Enterprise guys. So that's how I got into Enterprise. And then, fast forward 5 years or so, when Whitechapel was looking for a drummer, Ben, I believe, was hanging out with Mark and was like, hey, we're kind of looking for a drummer. And Mark's like, oh, I got a guy. Sent me their way. So it was kind of funny because this band that I was in high school basically got me all of the touring gigs I've done pretty much so far. So it's just kind of funny how that paid off 15 years later or something like that.
Full circle moment,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's
and
cool.
It just kind of made me glad that I kept in touch with those guys. I mean, I wasn't I actually kind of so I played with them in high school, and then I didn't really play too much drum set. I did marching stuff.
Yep.
I did drum line, drum corps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did all that stuff. So I kind of focused more on that for about 10 years. But after I got out of that, I focused heavily on drum set again and kind of got back in touch with them, jammed with Jordan a few times. So it was kind of nice to get back in touch with them. And then, yeah, it ended up kind of paying off to go into bigger things,
Yeah. How did you get into heavy music in general? What transpired you when you were younger?
I kind of grew up on it. I was grew up on classic rock, kind of went more into punk and then went more into metal. Kind of took that route, where I kind of just kept listening to heavier and heavier and heavier stuff. It's all right, I'm listening to Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and stuff. Then now I'm kind of more into punk kind of stuff. All right, then now, there's this band Slipknot. Now I'm listening to them and thrash and stuff like that. So I kind of just went that way into it. And I was pretty much by the time I was in high school, I was fully into metal. And then just pretty much stayed with it.
It kind of seems like you kind of just lean towards more so the deathcore side of stuff. Is what kind of grabbed your attention?
Actually, not really. I mean, I do as far as the bands, but personally, what I enjoy listening to is not really my favorite.
That's usually how it is, though.
What's up?
That's usually how it is. The band you're in is you're not really listening to that kind of stuff a lot, but
exactly. For me personally, if I'm going to listen to metal, it's more I like thrash and tech death.
Okay.
Kind of more that way. Some mellow death bands and just death metal. I do like some deathcore though. I mean, I got As Blood Runs Black. I like that Allegiance album. I like that one a lot. Some Drop for a Cowboy I like, and I like some of the older Whitechapel albums. That was funny because Whitechapel was one of the deathcore bands that I actually really enjoyed before joining. Cool. I really like This Is Exile. But in general, yeah, that's not really like, if I'm gonna pick music to listen to, it's pretty rarely what I would go to.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. When I was doing some research, obviously, because I was trying to like do the a little bit of like background work, and I was like, oh man, you've been in the band for like a handful of months. But then I was like, oh, but he's been touring with the band for a handful of
Yeah.
years. But then when I was doing some other research, I did see the RCC page, the I would say the Drumline, Riverside, California.
Yeah.
Drumline. And oddly enough, I have a friend who is very into that.
Nice.
One of my best friends growing up became like, he was our drummer in my band too. So oddly enough, but he became like a teacher, like a drum instructor at our old high school, and then became like the indoor. He ran the indoor team, and then started his own independent team where they would go compete and do stuff like that.
Oh, really? That's crazy. Do you know like what group it is?
I do know the group that he is a part of, but I don't know if you would know who they are. Yeah,
I probably would.
They're it's called Conflux.
Conflux. Actually, I never heard of it.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know where is it from?
They're based out of here, but I think it's high school kids. I don't think it's on the DCI level of like college or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I know a little bit about the Blue Devils and this, that, or the other. I don't know a lot, like I peripherally through him, right? But I've had a lot of drummer friends, so I know like Flam Tapper and or not Flam Tapper, but Flam Taps and some Paragon.
Yeah.
Flam Tapper was like some fucking guy's screen name back in the day when we were on AIM.
That sounds about right.
That tracks.
A good Xbox Live name or something.
Yeah. So I do want to get into some of that stuff, but we'll wait a little bit because we don't want to bore everyone immediately right out of the gate.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the nerds.
They're talking about marching band now.
Yeah, the nerds will have to stick around for that. But I am curious as to like some post academia drumline stuff. So, but anyway,
cool.
As far as Whitechapel is concerned, you guys have a tour coming up. You guys got like a record coming out. You got a lot of stuff going on. You were drumming obviously the whole time. They're probably writing records. So are you? Did you have like input in the actual writing process, or is it something that they just kind of presented? Like here's what we'd like you to do, and it's been tracked out or something like that.
Yeah. Actually, I had a good amount of input. It was more than I thought it was going to be. Cool. Yeah. So like we kind of like, so the thing is I'm here in California and they're in Tennessee. So we kind of had to like send stuff back and forth to each other. Obviously I wasn't in the room with them writing. But they would send me stuff, and occasionally it would have drum ideas. Sometimes it wouldn't have anything, and then I would just kind of go through, do my thing. Like I pretty much was able to put whatever I wanted down. The only thing is that a lot of times, since I wasn't there with them, I would like write some, program some parts, write something, send it to them, and then I would get something back, and it's like, oh, actually that part like completely changed. Like that riff isn't there anymore. You know what I mean? So it was like, all right, okay, so. My plan is for the next album is to go out to Tennessee for like a week or two and at least be in the room with them, and I think it'll come out better. But yeah, I mean, I had a good amount of freedom. I tried to keep things pretty straightforward because I know they wanted to go super heavy, so it's like I wasn't trying to like play some ridiculously intricate thing over it and just kind of like distract from it. I wanted to keep it pretty meat and potatoes heavy, but I think there's still some pretty fun stuff in there. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot more freedom than I originally thought when they asked me to do the album. So that's a good sign. And then hopefully, on the next one I'll get even more. Well,
hopefully people like your parts, and then maybe you'll get more.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Seems like people like it so far.
Yeah. So. Well, you guys have been teasing it for quite some time. I mean, the album's slated to come out. Oh fuck! Off the top of my head, I'm trying to.
March 7th.
March. Yeah. Okay. About the same time your tour is kicking off too. But I know you guys have been teasing it live a couple songs over the course of like, the year. So I think you might have played like 3 or 4 songs live.
We played 2.
Over the last like year?
Last we did. What was that?
Because I swear you premiered songs on tour. You might have been playing like 2 this past tour, but God, when I look back, I was like, they've got, because you think you even have so many out. Or
we have 2 singles out right now.
Okay.
On the last tour. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the album has been a work in progress for a while. It took a good amount of time to write it. Like
I was going to ask, because like, you're not there, and you kind of already talked about it a little bit, but I was like, it's got to prolong the writing process just to like be an odd man out, or just be someone that's not with the group of people. And then you're like, not only that, on top of it, it's it's not like, and I don't want to like shun any other instruments, but it's not like a second guitar or a bass or something like that. It's a pretty prominent instrument.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, a lot is fed off of the drums too, that in metal and hardcore and stuff like that. So it had to have been taxing at times and prolong the whole ordeal.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is like we did do some riding on tour, so I was there for that. But even then, it's like it's kind of hard to ride on tour.
Yeah, what's riding on tour like with the drums in the fucking trailer?
Because I mean, it's distracting. You know what I mean? Like, or not. The riding isn't distracting, but there's tons of distractions, right? It's like, I don't know. It's just like you're just always like worried about something else. Like, okay, we got to do this sound check. You got to go do that. You got to do this, and then you're tired from sleeping on the bus. So it's like it's definitely hard. But I feel like, at least for myself, I did a lot of like drum programming. I remember just like in green rooms. I think we were on tour with iArt in Europe at the time. I programmed a lot of the drums there. And yeah, so I mean, I feel like we still got a good amount of work done on tour. It's just, like you said, it definitely kind of prolonged it a little bit because we were touring a lot at the time. I'm here. But then, I mean, there's also just a lot of other factors that go into it. Like everybody's kind of busy and stuff. Plus, they hadn't really written an album in 3 or 4 years. So it was like, kind of like, all right, the whole creative process is like, okay, restart this, go to this, We also did a lot of it on our own, like with Zack, the guitar player, did a lot of the production stuff. We tracked drums with him. I think he pretty much recorded he like engineered everything. So, which is nice because, we have as much time as we want, right? But that also is an issue because then you kind of get like lulled into this, like, oh, it's fine. It's like, you know what I mean? Like you can spend a whole month just doing one thing, but it's like, because you don't have that time crunch as much, right? So it's good and bad at the same time,
It definitely is a toss-up, for sure.
Exactly.
What are some of the biggest differences? And I don't know how much you can kind of speak to this because obviously, like, this is your first foray with the band, and again, you're surprised at the amount of input you were able to, give the group during the writing. Yeah. But like, what are some big takeaways? Like, let's pretend no one's even heard the singles. Like a Whitechapel fan hasn't even heard the new singles or seen you guys live this year. What are some big takeaways from the new record, Hymns, that is not something that was on Kin or a previous record from the guys?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that wasn't on Kin. I mean, there is, but I feel like what it more so is it's kind of like, if I had to like describe it to you, I would say it's like reimagining their original albums, but with like a fresh, mature outlook on it. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of taking like the songwriting that's on the Valley and Kin and the production of them, and then almost revisiting the older style, but with like a new kind of lens, right? So I mean, yeah, there are things that weren't on Kin and stuff like that, but I don't think that there's stuff that the band hasn't tried before, but I think it's more so it's just, it's like that's the best way I can describe it. It's the old school sound, but with a more mature outlook on it.
Right. Better drumming is what you're saying.
What's that?
You said better drumming is what you're saying.
I mean, I don't know about that.
We're not here to cause beef, although it is Lambgoat. We're not here to start beefs. We just post about them.
Yeah, exactly. So, did you hear what he said? He called so-and-so shitty drum.
That's what we're here for.
The crazy thing is Whitechapel's always had very good drummers, so I feel honored to be included among them. And it also makes playing the live songs difficult because I have to learn songs from like 5 different drummers that are all very good in different ways, So.
Yeah. Do you ever, like, when you guys are selecting sets, like for live shows, you're like, hey man, can we just like maybe like narrow it down to 3 drummers that I gotta like fucking copy?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes. I don't know. Usually it's like, it just kind of has to do with the flow of the set, the guitar tunings, And then, they'll ask me if there's like a song that I want to play. Like I really wanted to play Possession, so we ended up kind of playing that for the past couple tours.
Interesting.
So I'm sure something like that will happen. I think the next tour is probably going to be a lot more of the new songs. We haven't really dialed in a set list yet, but there's one of those that I'm not really looking forward to playing live because it's pretty fast for a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there any Brendan sauce on this album that like fans will be like, oh, well, this is definitely, I mean,
oh yeah,
noticeably different in the drums area, not just like sound sonically or anything like that. But
no, there definitely is. I mean, I think with my stuff though, I feel like you kind of have to listen a little closely. Like, you know, I mean, I'm not like I don't. I think it's more. I try to do like little tasty fills and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's not just like in your face, like. But I think my style is definitely there. You know, I like I was saying, it's like I tried to kind of keep it straightforward, but I still have. There's still stuff in there for sure.
Interesting.
You know? I feel like I did my whole thing is I'm trying to like write the drums the best for the song, not just like, oh, I'm going to put this part in there because I think it's cool, right? But when I do have a moment where I think that the drums can shine, you know, I think I put in some fun stuff. So
interesting. Do you God damn, I'm blanking out. I literally just was thinking of something to ask you, and then like you ended, and I was like, I'll ask him that, and then it came time to ask you, and it fucking fluttered away.
No worries.
Oh no, here, I got it now.
Okay.
When you know you're into more thrash stuff and whatnot,
Yeah.
you know, growing up and your interests as far as music is concerned in the metal world, like, do you think it helps or hinders that you're not really super formidable or super into like deathcore when writing a deathcore record? Like, because Whitechapel's been, and I hate saying deathcore, but like, you know, heavier breakdown, crossover with hardcore type vibe. Do you think it helps or hinders? Because obviously you're bringing a fresh outlook in a band that's been around for 20 something years. You know what I mean? So like, what's your personal outlook on that?
I think it helps because I think like, I feel like my goal is like, do you hear the drumming and you'll be able to tell that it's me? You know what I mean? I don't want it to be like, just to sound like everybody else. And I feel like if I grew up like only listening to deathcore and like, that's all I listened to, I would just sound like everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I definitely think it helps, and it kind of gives it a unique kind of sound and flair to it. You know, I also would say that like I can. There's also like the other guy's input in there too. You know, like if they want like a specific kind of breakdown or something to it, then it's like, okay, I can obviously play that. You know what I mean? But I also think that there's a lot more of, like you were saying, the thrash kind of influence on this album. Like if you even just like Hymns and Dissonance has a good amount of it. So that's kind of like some of my influence, but also, I mean, the other guys wanted to keep everything really energetic and stuff too. So they were kind of all down for it anyway. So it's not like, it's just like me trying to like get my idea in there. You know what I mean? So,
I just think
so I definitely think it helps kind of having like a fresh outlook on it.
Yeah. It would be intimidating. I would feel like, you know, approaching a project and just not being as super well versed in that particular genre or that particular band's style over the course of their discography or career. You know what I mean? And I think like it would be like a hurdle for me to be like, all right, well, and I would be thinking probably, what would a deathcore fan want? You know, and then have to like overcome that hurdle of going like, well, don't tell anybody I'm not a deathcore fan or anything like that, but you know, now I got to figure this part out. So,
yeah, I mean, I think as long as it like fits with what's going on in the music, like with the guitars and stuff, especially, that I don't think anybody's really gonna notice. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll throw in like little like drum, like speaking of drum lines, like a little drum line or rudimental type fills and stuff like that. And you know, if you aren't a drummer, as long as it's fitting with the guitars and it sounds musical, I don't think it's gonna like stand out to you as being like anything that's like weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And honestly, if anything, it gives you a little bit more variety versus just going like classic death metal fills, you know?
Yeah. You got a new tour coming up to support the album, obviously, and that's going to be with Brand of Sacrifice, 200 Stab Wounds, and Alluvial.
Yes.
What is it with bands not starting tours in like their hometown, or like, you know what I mean? Because like they're starting, like you guys start this one like close to Tennessee, but not Tennessee. It's like North Carolina. So
I mean, it does end in Atlanta, which is pretty close.
Even still, it's not even fucking Tennessee. You know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing here?
Well, we did just play 3 shows in Tennessee for the.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. No, apologies.
So I'm guessing maybe it has to do with that. I don't know. Honestly, I don't.
You guys radius claused yourself. You went out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. You know how it is. We have like a booking agent and a manager that handles most of that stuff. You know, I mean, we have some input in it, but it's like, you know, bands are always like, oh, why didn't you guys go here? It's like it's not like we really pick. It's like we get like the booking agent is like, all right, here's where I'm thinking for the tours. And then if it's like, if we really, really, really don't want to do something, maybe we can have some say in it. But for the most part, it's like, it's already fairly decided.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's got to be a pain in the ass fucking booking a national touring act in general, and then juggling multiple bands on that package. It has to be just like bang your head against the wall because there's a lot of moving parts, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
A lot of moving parts. Well, what's been your favorite time in the band, even though it has been somewhat short-lived? I want to know your favorite time.
Touring with Meshuggah, I think.
Yes, I could see how that would be a good time.
Yes, very good time. Yeah, I mean, you know, because we've toured with bands I like. Like, I like Cannibal Corpse a lot, you know, some other bands. But you generally, like, on a tour, like, I'll watch a band, like, their whole set all the way through once or twice, maybe, you know, like another band. The only problem is if they're the band that's, like, on right before us, I have trouble watching them because I'll, like, warm up around that time. But with Meshuggah, I watched them, like, I don't know, probably 15 times.
As you should, yeah. I mean, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. Just like, all right, I'm going to, like, stand side stage for this whole set and just, like, watch Thomas play drums. Or I'm going to go to the front and just, like, watch the whole thing and the lights and, like, soak it all up or whatever. It's just, yeah. So it was pretty dope. And they're really nice guys, really cool. It was a really good time. It was just, like, the perfect tour, you know? Like, there was no drama. It was just good turnouts. Like, yeah, everything was pretty dope. So
awesome. That's
probably my favorite time I've had so far.
And then on the flip side of that, I want to know the drama-filled worst time.
Oh, worst time. Man, the last tour we just did with Lorna Shore, our bus broke down, and that was pretty rough because it was like it would of course happen on like a really long drive. Oh, actually, I have two stories of the bus breaking down. So this is the first one. Happened on like a really long drive. I think we were driving from Portland to like Denver or something like that. Yeah. Bus broke down. We had to like wake up in the freaking, you know, like 4 a.m. or something. Got a box truck, transferred all the gear from the trailer to the box truck. We rented 2 cars to get everybody into, freaking drove to the next show. And then of course the bus wasn't ready. So then we had to drive to another show. You know, it was just like, yeah, that was pretty rough. But we made it happen. Didn't miss any shows. You know, it was good. The other one was we were on tour in Europe actually. And we played Brutal Assault, which is in, I think it's in Czech. And then we had to play in Alcatraz, which is in Belgium the next day, which is a super far drive. You know, that was like, I don't even know how long that drive was, like 14 hours or something like that, probably.
Good Lord.
And when we were leaving Brutal Assault, the bus got stuck in the mud. So they used like a forklift or something to kind of like try to get it out. And then that ended up breaking one of the suspension things.
Oh boy.
So we were like driving for a little bit and the bus was like leaning. And of course, as soon as we got into Germany, like the German police pulled us over, like, you can't drive like that until it's fixed. So we had to get it fixed. And this was all when we had like a freaking super long drive, right? And we got to Alcatraz. Like basically we got to this show when we were supposed to be performing. Like that's when we got there.
Right.
So it was like, all right, your set time is at 6. We got there at 6. So then luckily, like the festival was really good. They had a bunch of people waiting, ready for us. Grabbed all our gear, got it set up in like 15 minutes. I believe this Cradle of Filth was on after us or so, and they let us kind of eat into their changeover time. So they gave us a little bit more time. We had time to play maybe 4 songs. So it was really cool. Everybody helped. It worked it out. But we were on the bus for like 24 hours, basically. It was so rough. Yeah, it was super stressful. It was like, are we even going to make it? There was like people that we knew at the show that were like sending us pictures of like a bunch of like the whole crowd waiting for us. Yeah. Like just stage. It was like, we're still like an hour away.
Yeah, you know? We're trying our hardest.
Yeah. So we're trying.
Was that the year was it Brutal Assault that got a bunch of rain that year?
It wasn't too bad.
There was a festival in the last like year and a half or something like that had a lot of mud and rain and didn't do really well out there, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like it's in like an old castle, so the infrastructure's not really set up for like buses to be parked, and you know, so we just kind of got stuck in the mud. And
I'm gonna tell you, man, they got some cool ass venues over there in Europe. You know,
definitely.
That's something that we don't necessarily have. I know there's like a cave that you can play in like Tennessee. Yeah. I don't know if we have any kind of like weird forts that people play in, But like even like I'll see like this is off topic, but like boiler room DJ stuff, like you ever
Oh, yeah.
and they sometimes are in castles or like weird ancient Roman architecture building, like
Yeah,
all
yeah,
these
just like,
fucking things, and you're like, that's really cool. But like,
or it's like some old like World War II bomber hangar or something.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. We got to get cooler places like that for.
I mean, the thing with like Europe and stuff like that is like there's just so much more history. It's like, oh, they're like, you know, I don't know, they have buildings that are older than our country. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, like there's just a lot more history everywhere you go. It's like, oh, this is in the basement of a building that's been here since 1487 or something. That's okay. That's crazy.
Genghis Khan came through here and had a drink one year. But yeah, no, that is. I mean, they definitely do have a lot more historical stuff going on and just history in general. Us being only 200 and something years old, but we definitely need to get better, more unique DIY hardcore metal venues. You know, I want to fucking see some bands playing a fort. That'd be cool.
Yeah, right.
And I don't want to have to see like Kiss to do that. You know?
Kiss at the Elmo or something.
Yeah. I don't know, it's like cool. Like I mean, I crap on bigger band festivals like that, but like, you know, you guys are playing Rockville, so that's not that far. That's not that far from us. But like, you know, there are times where I do enjoy watching mostly the undercard, but then there are times where I do like some of these bigger guilty pleasure bands. Like I just made fun of Kiss, but I did see Kiss at Rockville not that long ago, and it was an experience. I wouldn't go back and do it again, but you know, that's why I'm saying I'd like to see some of these smaller bands play these cooler venues without seeing like Breaking Benjamin or something like that, you know? One day. But also, I'm like, I go to hardcore shows most of the time, so they're already going to be like
in like a dive bar or something.
Yeah, it's already a restaurant converted into like a fucking, you know,
or like a VFW hall or something.
We don't really have a lot of, we do have VFWs here, but a lot of people don't do a lot of shows in VFWs around here. Gotcha. I do remember that growing up though, playing in VFWs, and it used to be like a bigger thing, I guess. But
yeah, maybe I definitely played in quite a few. So
yeah, coming up, you have to play in at least a handful for sure on the come up. So yeah, you're a drum nerd, and we're gonna fucking cut most of the people off of the podcast that are into the band, but I definitely want to talk about the drumline thing.
Okay,
because I think a lot of people have like a certain persona of drumline, whether it's through Nick Cannon's movies or maybe like American Pie band references, Bandcamp references. But
yeah,
it really is. It's kind of, I don't want to say wild because I don't think it's. I mean, I don't know the intricacies of it like you would, but it is very interesting because I always am like, what is the end result for this person who has this interest, right? Like whether it's women's water polo or water polo in general, is there like a professional water polo league that you'll fucking make
niche?
Yeah, can you make 30 grand and support yourself off of water polo? I don't know, but
yeah, exactly.
In my head too, I'm also like, well, I know that band is huge in school, not just drumline or whatever. Like there's different levels of band, there's different levels of drumming, there's different levels of classes you can take in college too. But like, let's say you're really into fucking drums and you don't really have a band and you're playing snare, you know, one of the basses or tenor or whatever.
Yeah, doing the drum line.
What's the end result for someone like that? There are definitely competitive drum lines out there, but I don't know if there's like leagues.
Yeah, okay, so they're like basically how it works is like, you know, there's like high school drum lines, right? Like you would see when you're in high school, like football games or whatever. There's college drum lines, right? Also like related to the college marching band, play at like, you know, all the college football games and stuff like that. And then there's kind of like independent groups like you were talking about earlier, right? Which would be like DCI, which stands for Drum Corps International, and WGI, which stands for Winter Guard International. And those are basically, I mean, high schools and stuff and colleges can compete in those, but there's also, like we were saying, there's independent groups that basically are nonprofit kind of organizations that are made of, you know, youth, depending on what, you know, class they're in. It's generally about like 18 to 21/22 year olds, right? You can basically only do it until you're 22. As far as like an end goal, like you know, you're not going to make any money doing those. You actually have to pay money to do those groups, right? It doesn't, you know. So, you know, it seems to get more expensive every year. But anyway, so we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, you have to actually pay money to do it. So it's not like you're going to make money playing in those groups. But the way I think of it is like you're paying money for like an education kind of. It's just almost like, you know, like I learned so much about drums and drumming and like technique and stuff like that when I did those groups. So it's almost like I just like, okay, here's some money for lessons, you know? You know what I mean? Yeah. But like not only that, I learned about like performing and like all kinds of stuff like that. But anyways, as far as like what you can do in that activity, like you can teach the groups, you know, you can write for the groups.
Yeah. Do you like when you were running the show or being a part of the drumline, would you write like, because I mean, again, with my friend being like very close into it, I realize how intricate it actually is. Like he's creating the shows, whether it be the marching and the music and all the other, and you know, he would come to me with these like themes, and I'm just like, oh my god, these themes are so fucking lame, dude. Like, and then like you guys are all dressed in like this weird costume. It's kind of like it's borderline like, god damn. I think this is actually involved in some of the shows too. Color guard in some of the
color guard. Yeah, well, I mean, color guard and drumline is like kind of separate, right? At least as far as the indoor thing, like WGI goes. But in marching bands and like drum corps, color guard is integrated into it too. Which, like, if you don't know, color guard is like the flag and like rifle people. But yeah, I mean, there's like a whole kind of like theatrical element to it too, right? So you can like write and design shows. There's people that have like whole companies where they just write and design the shows and then they sell them to like high schools. You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get him to do. I'm like, dude, you already fucking can do it.
Yeah,
let's go, baby. I fucking help you out.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you just write and design stuff like that. And so like I think a lot of people when they go through it, you either kind of do that. Like if you want to stick with it, you end up teaching the groups. Or you write for some groups, or you do both, right? Or a lot of people, I feel like if they kind of want to stick sort of in it, but like a little bit more of like a secure financial thing, they'll become like band directors, you know, stuff like that. You get kind of more into that kind of side of things.
Yeah.
Or people just end up going off and doing something completely different. You know, there's some people that do it until they're 21, 22, and then that's it. Then they're done. You know, they move on to something in their life, right? They become like an engineer or something, you know what I mean? Or you can go off and do stuff else and then also still teach occasionally, right? Like, so I'm doing the Whitechapel thing, but I still teach drumline occasionally.
Yeah, okay.
Like I teach at RCC this winter season. And for me, it's just kind of like, I like to be involved in it, you know? I feel like it helps, especially teaching like RCC, because that's a high level group, helps still to push me drumming wise, because they'll be playing some stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to play that with them or learn what they're playing, and it's not like it's easy stuff to play, you know what I mean? So it like pushes me, right? And it just kind of, I feel like it's nice to be around it, and I teach it with a lot of my friends. So for me, it's like, oh, all right, I'm just gonna go hang out with my friends and teach them drums for the day and make a little bit of money. You know what I mean? It's like where's the downside in that? You know, it's something that I still be around. You know? Yeah,
and again, I mean, like I don't want to put anyone off from trying drumline out, but I mean, I definitely did some. I again, because he was like my best friend growing up. He did talk me into like some summer fucking bullshit where I'd go and like hold the big fucking fifth bass drum all fucking summer long and be like, yeah, dude, this is really fucking cool. Meanwhile, he's like, you know, first snare or some shit.
Yeah,
I'm over here struggle busting it, but.
That's funny.
But yeah, I mean, I always thought it was weird just because I didn't know what the end result would be. Like for someone who's into the actual drumming side of it. But then, you know, the internet's changed a little bit too, and a lot more like I see a lot more drumline content just in general. I would see zero of it 20 years ago. You'd have to buy like a DVD for like some exorbitant amount of money of just like a show or something like that. You know, you'd watch the Blue Devils or something like that. That was always the rage around when I was younger.
Yeah.
The Blue Devils, DCI. Yeah. Are they still the top dogs around, or?
Blue Devils, yeah. I mean, they're like the Yankees, kind of like they're consistently.
So they're buying their players, you say, huh?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know.
but yeah, good.
No, I mean, honestly, it's like drumline has been really great, and I think if you want to do it, then I would super like recommend it. Like, even if you just have a little bit of interest, like try it at least in high school or college or whatever. The problem is that if you get, if you're already like past 21, 22, you're kind of too old. It's for it, which is not like saying you're too old. It's just, it's a youth activity, right? I mean, there are groups that do like,
yeah. Are there adult drumline? Like, that's what I'm saying.
There are, but they kind of compete in like different classes. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any experience with them, so I'm not sure exactly how.
I think we should just get a bunch of 40-year-olds up there, ragtag drumline and just fucking battle each other.
Exactly.
I think that should be, I think once you become like the 22 plus age group, then it should be way more Nick Cannon style drumline battles. Well, not so much like the big show spectacles.
The Nick Cannon style groups, but that's a little bit of a different thing. That's like what you'd say is like a historic black.
Yeah. But outside of school, I just want to see grown ass people just getting down like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. HBCU colleges, that's like the vibe. I mean, like we've got FAMU is down here, like a couple hours away, so like well versed in the swag that it takes.
Drumline is freaking cool. Like I think it kind of gets a bad rap with like in the drum corps side because it, people think it's just their priorities are in different places. I think than in the drum corps style.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's really awesome. And I have a few friends that did a lot of it, and like I really like. They did a lot of the drum corps and the HBCU style, and like I really respect the stuff that they've done, and like they'll show me like the groups that they've marched or taught and stuff, and it's like, oh damn, that's like really impressive. Like I don't know,
and again, cool. Just like a little more swag. It's got a little more seasoning on it. It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
It's less rigid, rigid. Not as choreographed, which is fine by me because like for me, all that is like lost on. I don't care if you're twirling the.
Yeah, the drum corps style thing is a little more artsy,
yes,
more like dance and theatrical and stuff versus like the HBCU stuff is more just kind of about like cool like visual things.
Yeah, cool I want to see you like rip some fast fucking paradiddles while doing the Matrix thing, like dodging bullets Matrix style. I want to see that.
That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching FAMU a lot just because they would come to town.
Yeah.
For whether it's like a Jaguar game, playing a halftime show, or just in school, they'd showcase them off. So like, yeah, it's wild that they're so different too. But obviously they would be. So. Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, like, I was like, I wouldn't want to discourage anybody. Like, sure, it costs money to do it, but like, if you can do it, I would say do it. I mean, honestly, like, I learned so much doing it. Just like about playing and performing, and just like about myself as a person, and like what it takes for me to like, get through. Like honestly, after doing drum corps and stuff, touring with like a metal band feels so easy. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I do. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in drum corps, it's like, we're riding on like charter buses, sleeping on like gym floors, rehearsing like 12 hours a day out in the hot sun. And it's like, dude, and then like I tour the band, I'm like sleeping in like a bunk, and we like don't rehearse and just go play the show. And like, it's like, it's like so much easier, So it's like, I don't know, like I learned so much, and I've made so many like friends that like are going to be lifelong friends through doing it. It's like, it's an awesome experience,
Yeah. So. What are some things that you guys are looking forward to? I know you haven't announced everything as far as Whitechapel is concerned. And again, I'm not editing the podcast, so don't say anything you don't want to have out there. But what are some things that you, Brandon, are looking forward to with the band this year?
Yeah, I'm like, what can I say? I mean, I'm just excited for everybody to hear the whole album. I think it's going to blow some people's minds. Like people like the singles, and I think the singles are very similar to what the whole album's overall sound is. So if you like the singles, you're going to really like the album. But I think too, the album is going to be an album that you can listen to from start to finish and really enjoy. I think it's going to be better if you listen to it from start to finish. You know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of versus just like hearing the singles kind of one at a time.
Was that something you guys thought out, or is it just kind of like you kind of realized it?
Phil really wanted to tell like a story through everything, so that's definitely a part of it. As far as like, we didn't like plan like, all right, this is gonna be the first song. This is, as we're writing it, we kind of wrote the songs and then put them in the order that made the most logical sense. And as far as like Phil's lyrical content made the most sense, but I think it's gonna be just a really good album, like to experience from front to back. So I'm excited for everybody to hear that. I'm excited to go to Europe in June. We're playing a bunch of festivals there. I love the Europe festivals. They're really fun.
Now, did they have any crowd surfing grandmas?
We did, yeah.
No. Do they have that in Europe? I know you've had it here.
Europe, probably. I don't know.
I was going to try to sneak that in somehow, some way.
Your couch surfing grandma. Yeah. Honestly, maybe. I don't know. Probably.
Interesting.
There's got to be. You know what I mean? They're like so into metal there. There's got to be.
I mean, you would think they definitely are more into metal than we are, I guess, as a population. But
which is crazy how like we went to Europe last August and we played like Wacken and stuff like that. And the festival was insane. Like
I always watch them on stream. I'm like, dude, it'd be fucking like, do I want to go to something like that? I mean, because it's massive, like way more massive than any festivals that were here. But also they have like the lineups are so much bigger, and I feel like oh my god, I feel like it's just overstimulation, like all over every angle, and then you're you know.
I honestly, every time I play a festival, I'm like, I don't really know why people would want to go to these, to be honest, because it's like to actually go to it. Like, I understand, like playing at them is freaking awesome,
right?
But like, I'm just like trying to picture myself being there for like 4 days, like camping out.
You think it's
and,
cool in the beginning? You're like, this would be fucking cool, and then day 2 rolls around, you're like, fuck, dude. And then like day 3 and 4 are like brutal fucking shits. And the thing is too, like the schedulers of these fucking festivals, they know what they're doing, right? They front load and back load the damn thing, and then like the days where you're not having a great time aren't the best bands for the lineup, and you're like, you
go sleep in your tent or something, you know?
I mean, I've done it for a number of years. I started going to like Bonnaroo type festivals, like multi-genre, multi-day festivals before the extreme music thing started picking up. But even then, I'd go to like Hellfest back in the day, like America Hellfest, not the one in Europe, but so I do have some, like I did have for a while, a whole setup where you're not a camping tent because you don't want a tent. You want like a big tarp and a bunch of like cots. You want like a whole setup. So we had that for a number of years.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I've never really like gone to any multiple day festivals. Like when I was younger, I went to Ozfest. Like it was like 2005 or something like that, 2004. But that was just like a 1-day thing, right? So I've never really done any like camping out kind of stuff. And I'm not really into camping in general, so I think that's probably like if I was into that, then it's like, okay, sure, I could see myself like, camping with music, like that's cool, I just kicked my stand. But yeah, I don't know. I really like playing them though, and Wacken is crazy huge. It was awesome. It was funny because that was like the first festival we played on that Europe run, and I was like, damn, is this what they're all going to be like? And then there's some other ones, it's like, oh no,
right. They're not. No. No. You're
not
like
all treated equally.
Yeah, no, it's like you play like a headline, or you're playing like 100,000 cap room, and then you're headlining to 4 people the next night. That's kind of like, you never know. It is what it is. So, side note, I did text my buddy, and I was like, hey, do you know who Brandon is from RCC? And he goes, I know of him, but not personally. He is younger. I know he shreds that. He goes, I know that he shreds. So
nice. That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. How old are you? How much? You can't be that much younger.
I'm 36.
Yeah, you're not that fucking much younger.
Yeah.
I think we're like 5 years on. We got 5 years on you, but that's about it.
Gotcha.
Like a class, like a class, like a school class.
Yeah, when I started marching, he was probably just finishing up his marching stuff. You know what I mean? Like as far as that goes. So like there was probably like a slight overlap, But yeah, that's funny.
I think he knows you from Drumline.
Yeah,
from RCC stuff. So, I'll send you some of his. I have his like fucking YouTube pulled up here or whatever.
Gotcha.
I'll send it to you, and that way you can just check out the horribleness. I don't know. He's actually really good. I shouldn't be down talking it, but I've never seen these videos. I've never seen these fucking videos.
What the hell?
No, I mean, I tried to tell him, and I don't know if you do this online. I know you have like a website. I don't know if you've ever done lessons or any kind of things like that, aside from the RCC stuff or whatnot. But
yeah, I do lessons.
Yeah, I try to get him to do all that internet stuff too, and pulling. Yeah,
I do lessons like in person and online
for drum set and drumline, or
drum set marching stuff. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. How'd you get into just like doing lessons? Like at what point does a person go like, yes, I can teach the other people?
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, like, I think I was maybe like 18, and I feel like it was like my mom's like coworker wanted somebody for their kid. You know what I mean? It was kid plays drums. Like, your son plays drums. Does he do lessons? And I think my mom was like, oh yeah, go give him lessons. I was like, sure. And so I started teaching this kid for a while. I think I'm pretty sure that's how I started. And then honestly, like doing lessons and like teaching drumline was like literally how I made money until I could make some money from touring. Like that was, you know what I mean? It was like I taught like 3 or 4 high schools at a time and taught a bunch of private lessons and just grinded. Cause I was like, playing in like local bands and not really making any money doing it. And then eventually it got to a point where I was like, all right, now I'm touring with like Enterprise Earth and making some money doing it, So it was, and I was like, just kind of like went from all teaching, a little bit of playing to some teaching and some playing. And then now I do mostly playing and a little bit of teaching. You know what I mean? So,
it's a balance. Work-life balance is what we'll call it.
Exactly. And I really enjoy teaching. I think when I had to do it, and solely relied on it for income, I kind of got burnt out on it,
Yeah.
But I actually really enjoy, especially like doing private lessons. I like it a lot, just like kind of like sharing information and seeing like light bulbs go off in people's heads, and then like seeing the improvement, stuff. It's cool.
It definitely is weird too, because like growing up, I didn't think that, as my friend, I didn't think he would be a teacher or someone that would teach anything. Not saying he couldn't. I just didn't see him doing that. And then as time had progressed, I'm like, oh, this motherfucker for real is like a teacher. Like I just didn't realize it, and I don't think he realized it. But like, not only do you have to be like good with younger people, which is a task in itself, you have to be good with teaching something to somebody else, which is a whole other fucking ball game.
Oh yeah, totally. Because I feel like with teaching, it's like, especially, like what we're doing, teaching drums, like teaching private lessons or teaching like a drum line or, anything kind of like that. It's not like you're teaching like a class where you just like, all right, here's what it is. I'm just like spouting the information, right? It's like, I feel like you have to like work creatively and find creative ways to explain and demonstrate stuff to where people will understand it, right? Because everybody learns things differently. It's like, I can teach you one way how to like play this pattern, but somebody might like want to see the pattern written out, or maybe other people learn better just by seeing you play it, or some people might need you to slow it down more or go like one kind of count at a time through the pattern or whatever. So it's just, you just kind of have to like be creative and find ways that like each student learns, like the best way for them to learn.
Yeah. And it's been wild to see him because he started off just doing lessons, like much like you, lessons for friends or people that he knew. And then like the high school that we used to go to reached out to him and wanted him to be like the drum instructor for the band. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, that's so fucking weird. You know what I mean? But again, that's all he did for a number of years. And then he started his own drum line where he would then, have lessons and do other things like that. And so it's been wild to see from afar. But again, as someone who like, fucking partied with this guy for like most of my life, it's very wild to see him in like the role of like being a teacher and responsible, so to speak. You
mentioned that American Pie band, one time at bank. I mean, the marching band nerds definitely do party. I feel like it's kind of fizzled out.
Hold on. Oh my God. Out of nowhere, the new Poison the Well song just started playing. I didn't even touch anything. Jesus Christ, dude. So if you're... Well, they've already heard the song since it's already come out, because it comes out tonight. So people have heard it. So now they've already heard it for a week, so whatever.
Yep. Gotcha.
My bad, Poison the Well.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah, but like, no. There's definitely some partying in the marching stuff. Like I said, I think it's kind of fizzled out a little bit, the partying. But when I was in it, people partied a lot, and before I was in it, like in the 90s and stuff, I've heard crazy stories. Yeah. So they would like at the 90s, Blue Devils would party like crazy hard. So,
well, shame on those band kids. They should make it more fun again. Like it shouldn't die out. That should be like a whole thing.
I can't speak on that because I teach it. So
I feel you.
I can't encourage partying.
I'll say it as a fucking person on the internet. Just that has nothing to do with it.
I mean, it's a youth activity, so technically it's like underage drinking, basically. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I'm thinking more like college band camp type stuff.
True. Yes, and I'm sure in college band that's different, because it's college, so I'm sure they're going crazy.
Yeah, but no, that whole thing does. I don't even want to get into it. I was gonna say, oh my God, dude, stuff is just playing in the background. Like, I don't know why it. I might have been hacked.
You can edit that out.
I might have been Hacksored. Someone's got some remote login and just playing random music.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that kind of almost got an hour into it, so we may as well just cut it off before something else fucking goes awry in the next fucking couple of minutes here. But Brandon, thank you very much for your time today. Congratulations on all the stuff with Whitechapel coming to fruition. The new album coming out next month, or in a month's time, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you on this tour. I think not on this tour, sorry, but we'll see you at Rockville for sure.
For sure. Sounds good, man.
Well, appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much, and take it easy.
All right, later.